We are going to be talking about lead generation today. Probably the biggest challenge in franchise development, franchise sales today has been for a long, long time. You won't want to miss this episode.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profit Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Shin.
Thanks for joining me today. We're going to be talking about lead generation. And candidly, in my 22 years in this business, lead generation and franchise sales, franchise development has probably been the most difficult thing, the greatest challenge to expanding and growing a brand, or as a franchise broker or franchise consultant, how to really build a six-figure income. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And the way to address this challenge is what I call the multiple lead generation strategy. In other words, running more than one or even two marketing or lead generating strategies for your business. The way I've been taught is a formula that recognizes 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 different lead generating strategies in order to reach the lead goals on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis that you're going to need, again, to have a six-figure income. So let's talk about why this works, why you need it. Well, one of the first things is that especially if you are not a seasoned person in franchise sales, if you're an emerging brand founder, or you're working for an emerging brand and you've never sold franchises before, no offense, but no matter how much sales experience that you have, and it's good if you bring other types of sales experience into franchise development or franchise sales, this is still a very, very unique type of sale. And so candidly, you're going to burn through some leads. You need volume, you need quantity of leads to smooth out the process that you're developing and to smooth out the things that you say each step of the way in the process. So unless you're very, very seasoned rep, you're working primarily, 70 to 80% of your leads are coming from referrals. Otherwise, you're really going to need quantity and volume. And I typically say, if you're less than 5 years in this business, you're going to need some volume of leads, particularly if you're less than 2 to 3 years. Absolutely. So that's one of the key things about why multiple lead generating strategies is so important. Another reason you need to do this is that you don't want to rely on a single lead generating strategy. I remember the funeral plot, the cemetery funeral plot industry years ago, many, many, many years ago, when their primary source of lead generation was telemarketing. You'd have your dinner time interrupted weekly by somebody calling you to try to get you to schedule an appointment to buy a cemetery plot. And when the government stepped in and the industry had no control over this, the government stepped in with the laws that said that would create a no-call list. And so that totally disrupted that industry for several years. They shifted, but candidly, it was really never the same. There are some other dynamics in that industry, the move toward cremation as opposed to burial. But at the end of the day, that was catastrophic when something totally out of their control interrupted the source of leads that they had for 95% of their lead generation. So you never want to be solely dependent on a single lead generating strategy. So that's another reason why you want to have a multiple lead generating strategy concept. You want to employ that in your business. A third key here is It is just sound business advice to use more than one marketing strategy. Any business owner that I've ever been around that's been successful, anyone that I've ever coached when I've done some single business owner, small business owner coaching, we always made sure that they had multiple lead generating strategies or marketing strategies operating. And if you're a broker, broker consultant, even, honestly, the top salespeople I've ever seen in my 40 plus years of business, the top salespeople treat their territory like a business. And so it just makes sense to have multiple lead generation strategies. If you're a broker, you should treat your business like a business. Even if you're solo, don't have anybody working for you, you should treat it like a business, and you will want to have multiple lead generating strategies operating. Some other mistakes in lead generation. Let me shift gears a little bit and just talk about some other, again, pitfalls for marketing and lead generation. One of the things is that I've seen people try a strategy once, and if it didn't work, they stopped. That's a huge mistake. What you want to do is track your results. You want to test something, you want to try something, and that's fine. But analyze what's going on, track your results, and then see if you can make some improvements. Look where some of the problem points are. Maybe it's a strategy you've never tried before. So the first time you ever do it, you're not going to do it all that well, and that's expected. That's okay. You'll perfect it as you do it more often and as you do some tweaks. So test it, analyze it, track your results, make adjustments, and then repeat the process before you kick a strategy to the curb that you've tried just once. Another mistake in lead generation that a lot of people make is that they try some really wild and crazy stuff. Now, I am not opposed to trying new things, but if you're in that space in your broker consulting business or doing franchise development for an emerging brand, if you're a founder of an emerging brand, you don't want your first or second strategies to be something that's just not been done before. It's just too risky. You want to go with tried and true strategies that work in the industry. In my online course, Franchise Sales Accelerator, I teach 9, 10 different strategies that have been proven to work in the franchise industry. So early on, again, certainly less than 3 years in the business, probably up to maybe 5 years in the business, don't try wild and crazy stuff. Go with strategies that have worked before in the industry, and you'll increase the probability of being successful faster. One of the other things I wanted to do today and talk about today is, again, when it comes to multiple strategies, operating multiple strategies simultaneously in your business, eventually, you might run 4, 5, 6. Eventually, you're probably going to get it down to 2 or 3. I always recommend usually 3. So let's say you've tried 5 or 6 or 7, and you found the 3 or maybe 4 that really work well for you. That's great. That's great. So that kind of sums up the whole idea of simultaneous operation of different lead generating strategies. But the last thing I wanted to teach about marketing and lead generation is that I break it into 3 categories. This is the way I've been taught marketing and lead generation. And I break it into short-term strategies, mid-term strategies, and long-term strategies. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Short-term strategy is something that's going to get you business in probably 30 days, but no more than 60 or 90 days. So strategies that are going to work for you right away. Midterm strategies are that 3 or 4 to maybe 6 months. They're going to take a little bit more time to develop, to evolve, but they will generate you. They will generate you leads in 4 to 6 months time frame. And then, of course, there's long-term strategies. Long-term strategies are classically going to be strategies that will work somewhere between 6 months and maybe 12 months. Now, people tell me, hey, you got to get the long-term strategies started at some point or they'll never work for you. But you've got to look at what you're doing. And again, if you're kind of new in this business, if you're in the business less than, say, 2 years, you really want to focus on short-term and maybe the midterm strategies, particularly for your first 12 to 18 months in business. Why? Well, because we all need to make money. We all want to make money, and you want to make money quickly. So you're not going to be as successful in the short term running strategies that might take you a year before they start generating you leads or they start paying off for you. So I always say again, in this multiple strategy concept of operating and growing your business or starting your business, having multiple lead generating strategies operating simultaneously, you want to have some blend of short-term, midterm, and long-term. But in the first 12 months, focus on the short and midterm strategies. And then as you're successful, as you're starting to break through that six-figure commissions or sales space, then go ahead and start to add a longer term strategy that, again, then will start to pay off for you in year 2. So again, one of the biggest challenges in franchise development for emerging brands, for broker consultants, even for franchisors, has always been lead generation. But if you work multiple strategies simultaneously, ultimately, typically 3 or 4 that really work well for you, but you've tested them out after trying maybe 7 or 8 strategies over the course of a few months, that's what's going to make you more successful. That's what's really going to help you develop a 6-figure income.